Alright, okay, good evening everyone. Okay, welcome to the new week. So as usual, what we're gonna do is we're gonna run through the overall events to take note of. Okay, and then after which we'll be looking at the charts and see if you guys have any questions that we'd like to also ask, and we'll take a look at our opportunities for the week. Okay. Good. So quick one over here. Summary of what happened last week first. Okay. Last week was actually a very eventful week. There's a lot of important news that were being released. There are some major movement in the market as well. Okay. So just very quickly, give you guys a summary. Okay. Okay, so over here, if you take a look, the focus was very much on some of the central bank's decision. So for Fed funds rate over here, basically there's not much of a surprise. They maintain it at 5.5. Um, Not much of a key changes as well. The Fed is basically expecting one more hike, potentially November, and we'll definitely want to keep track on that, right? Because right now the market is starting to price in the hike in November. But by then, if let's say we don't see the hike, then we may see some weakness in the dollar itself. Okay, and last week's the major surprise came in from pound. So on Wednesday, the CPI data itself was a little bit lower than the expected. Okay, so that saw the pound actually came down a little bit. And then on Thursday, Bank of England, the expectation was for it to actually hike rates to 5.5, but it did not. So that's also another major surprise, and that's where we see the pound actually weaken quite a bit last week. We'll take a look into the charts later on for pound as well. Okay, but that's something to note, right? And then of course we have the Bank of Japan. Bank of Japan, no surprise, still maintaining at a negative rate. So fundamentally, there's a good chance that the yen would likely continue to weaken, in a moving forward, right? In a fundamental perspective of things. Okay. So with that said, looking into this week's calendar, generally it's a little bit more quiet compared to what we have last week. Not much of a major data that you probably need to be concerned of. Probably you just want to take note on Friday, 8:30, we do have the US core PC price index. Okay, that's the only news that's gonna be very significant for the week. Okay, so with that, let's take a look into the charts over here. Okay, we'll start off with the dollar index. Now, dollar index is still pushing a little bit higher over here, but overall, we're definitely seeing a cross structure developing at the moment. If I bring in my RSI, you can see over here as well, divergence. There's no reason to be buying into this. Okay, but what we are looking out for right now is, can we get that reversal coming in? On a 4-hour time frame perspective, we are looking at a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, potentially completing soon. And if you look into the smaller scale here, okay, on the hourly, we also have a cross structure developing within it, right? So this is something what we call a pattern within a pattern. And if you go down to the hourly, you'll be able to then pinpoint a more precise entry area to significantly increase the risk to reward ratio. Okay, so looking at this here on an hourly, okay, we can then focus on a potential swing low around 105.55. If you can get a break below that level, okay, impulsively, that's important as well, then there's a very high probability we're going to see the dollar coming back down, potentially towards 102.95 area, right? So if the dollar index is likely going to be coming down, then of course some of the major pairs will potentially also see that reversal. Okay, so if you take a look at the euro, okay, that's basically the inverse of it. Okay, we're still expecting a little bit of a dip, which is basically happening right now, which is great. We want to see the market to come down, maybe test the bottom of this trend line over here, that zone. Okay, and of course, ideally on a lower time frame, we want it to start to do a 1-hour crop. Now, if we can get that, okay, then we will have also a very decent little 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 wave completed, we'll expect this to push back up. Okay, especially in line with if the dollar index starts to come back lower. So this one here on euro dollar, you want to go down to the hourly. Okay, this one you need to be a little bit patient and see if you can get kind of like a crawl structure developing here. Okay, you don't want to just buy in when the market just tests the trend line. You want to see some sign of a pattern development to give you that confirmation that yes, momentum is lacking. The reversal probability is higher. Of course, you can stack it with RSI. Okay, at the moment we don't really have the divergence yet, but there's a good chance, you know, if this comes down a little bit more and starts to do something like this, okay, this would probably build in something like that as well. And then if you can get a divergence with an hourly crawl, with a 4-hour time frame, larger pattern, then of course everything aligns. The probability to the upside will be more significant. Okay, so we're still neutral now, but moving forward within the week, if you can see an hourly crawl here, we'll definitely look for the buy trade setup. GBP USD, I think this week unlikely we're gonna get anything. Alright, so last week here we were anticipating a potential impulse move to the upside for the reversal. It did not happen. Fundamental news actually sent the pound weaker as well. So this week here, I think nothing much, right? You generally would want to just be patient, stay off the pound dollar right now, let it develop for the week. We'll come back next week and see how it's turning out, right? So this one here, nothing there. Aussie dollar, depending on how in terms of like the style and the time frame you're looking at, for me it's a swing, nothing really there. We're expecting a short-term move to the downside, but to me this is a little bit too small for a swing trade. But on the hourly, then you may consider a potential trade. Okay, suppose again Monday market is usually slow, right? Suppose this goes back up tomorrow, then you have a little impulse correction. You can expect this to come back down to complete this 3-wave move. Okay, so on the hourly, that may make sense. Okay, you can actually put in a little bit of a fips here. Okay, so from an hourly perspective, if you're looking at a short-term sell trade, you know, somewhere around that 15,618, it stops above there. Bring this down. Your risk reward is about 1:3. Not too bad, right? But of course, it's a pretty tight trade, okay, because your stop here is somewhere around like 30 pips, and you're simply just targeting about 80 pips, right? So from a swing trade, it's not really that significant. But if you're more of a short-term kind of an intraday perspective, then of course 80 pips, you probably can get it around like 2 days, right? So it's a very, very short-term trade. If that's aligned with your plan, then you know that's an opportunity to consider. Okay, Aussie dollar short-term downside. Dollar Canadian is something that I'll be focusing a little bit more this week here as well. Okay, we're expecting this to go up a little bit, and then from there on, we're gonna get a decent sell trade opportunity with the completion of a WXY structure. So impulsive move, 3-wave corrective, we'll look for the sell. Okay, of course you can add up, you can stack up the confluence as well when we can get also an impulse move, and then after that a corrective crawl structure, right, on the hourly. Then that would of course stack up the odds for a reversal. Okay, so dollar CAD definitely in the focus. You can see here, right, euro dollar, dollar CAD. Dollar yen will continue to expect a bit more upside, but to me there's no setup. To me the risk reward ratio may not be very attractive, so I'm not too focused on the dollar yen. Okay, but of course we're still expecting this to just push higher towards the area around 149.30 to 150. Yeah, good. Next is gold. Okay, so gold over here, we have a potential setup for the week as well. Right now over here you can see we're expecting a tiny bit of a corrective structure. Okay, so we get this impulsive move last week, right? So if we can continue to form a 3-wave corrective structure within here, okay, completing perhaps somewhere around that 15,618 Fibonacci, we are expecting one more drop, right, to complete this 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then a bigger 1, 2, 3. So short term, do focus on the potential sell trade. Now, You can even go down to the hourly over here, of course, wait for this to develop, and then of course if we can see a slow corrective move here, giving us a nice little channel structure, that will be ideal as well. Okay. Now if I kind of give you some time expectation, a rough estimation, it will be somewhere between Thursday and Friday trade. Okay, so right now we're on Monday, so you don't need to rush things through. Okay, you probably can just wait it all until like Thursday. You start to look out for the area. If price is there, if price develops correctively towards that area, then that's your sell trade opportunity for gold. Okay, with a target back at like 1895. The risk reward is, to me, definitely worthwhile, right? Because we are looking at the trade there, your invalidation up there, your risk, your reward down here, you can see 1:2, pretty decent. Okay, so gold, you can take note of it as well for the week. Okay, crude oil, we are looking at a potential sell trade opportunity. Not the clearest, not the best, but you know, it has been extended quite a bit. We're basically expecting a simple pullback. Okay, right now what we have is a minor drop. This looks pretty okay in terms of correction. We're expecting one more drop. As I mentioned, not the best, okay, because this can actually develop into just a corrective structure. It doesn't need to come all the way there. It can be basically a corrective structure and another pushback up, right? So you just want to be careful on that. I mean, if you have better setups, you know, you probably want to focus on the better ones. Like, to me, dollar cat is maybe a little bit better over here. Gold probably is going to be a little bit clearer than crude oil as well, right? So you also want to kind of filter off, you know, you need to have certain ways to filter off, like what are some of your grade A trades, right? What are some of your not so great trades, you know, and if let's say that week you have great trades potential that you can focus on, you definitely want to be focused on those. Okay, and you don't want to spread your resources too thin. You don't want to be distracted by too many things happening as well. So you definitely want to like cherry pick, right? But of course, at certain times, if there's nothing else, then you can come back to, you know, trades that are decent, but not like super great. Okay, you can still pay a little bit more attention to them. Okay, so it really depends on the week itself. Do you have a lot of things on your watch list, or you know, you have nothing, and therefore you just, you know, want to focus on some decent one and see if you can catch something, right? So for me, crude oil is definitely not the best, right? And I think this week we are not short of opportunity, right? So for me personally, I will not pay too much attention on this. Okay. S&P over here will probably looking at the development of a 5-wave structure. Okay, something like that. So we're expecting a little bit more downside, right? And if you're trading the indices, then of course any short-term pullback can be seen as a potential wave 4, and then you can look to trade a short-term down for wave 5 completion, right? And once that completes, there is a good chance we'll see this bounce back up. Okay, and definitely when price reaches around that zone at 4265, 4260, we want to look out for buy trade opportunity, right? And not only the trade aspect, but if today you're looking at maybe, you know, some kind of an investment perspective, that will be a good area to add in some buy for S&P as well. Okay, so in terms of investing, you know, a lot of times people say it's not, you can't really time the market. Yes, for sure, you can't really time it 100% all the time, but with the aid and assistance of technical analysis, you can actually do a little bit more precise entry, right? Because fundamental investors, they don't really look into technical analysis, and they basically just average down, right? Or they have some ways of just, you know, consistently buy in every other month. But if today you have the ability and the technique, okay, based on technical analysis to give you a little bit more precision, okay, you definitely do a little bit better, right? Obviously, we're not saying that you're gonna get in at the very, very top or the very, very bottom, but technical analysis give you a little bit more details, you know, precision, as I mentioned, in terms of which price to get in. Is it an ideal timing to get in, right? So S&P here, even if you're looking at a longer term investment, I think keep an eye on around 4260, 4265. That might give you an opportunity to buy in, perhaps at a better entry price point. Okay. Pound yen here, really nothing much this week. We'll probably just want to wait off and see if we can get a crawl structure development here for the week. If we can, then next week would be a buy. Okay, so this one we probably just want to wait it off a little bit. Okay. Euro pound, really nothing there as well. I would say probably don't want to pay too much attention onto that, but likely we're seeing a 1, 2, 3 wave 4 development this week, and then next week will be a potential wave 5. Okay, I mean, you don't want to be trading when it's doing its correction. Okay, so this week likely is going to develop the wave 4 correction. Aussie yen, I'll take this off as well. I don't think it's the nicest pattern of all. Okay, because this pushback is pretty impulsive. If this push up was corrective in nature, then of course we'll be looking at that sell. But the push up was pretty impulsive, so right now we'll just take it off the list, let it develop for this week and see how it goes first. Okay. Pound odd here, we're basically getting quite close to the target at 1618, right? So this drop was pretty impulsive, so we're expecting a 1, 2, 3, and then maybe 4, and then 5, right? So there's no reason to be selling here. We're so close to the 1618. What we do is we let the price tag at 1618. Depending on how it develops here, if it develops as a crawl, we may even decide and see if it's worth catching that little bounce, okay, short term. And then if we're gonna get a corrective bounce from there, then obviously we can trade the downside, right? But for now, really nothing there. Okay, BTC is currently testing that zone 15,618. So my take over here is be a little bit patient, wait for a smaller rejection, and then we can look for an upside. So 4-hour direction is quite clear. The target for now is around 28710. What you can do is you can go down to the hourly. Seems like we have a little bit of a double top, a double bottom kind of structure. RSI here have a bit of a divergence built. Okay, so if you're aggressive, definitely look for the break of the neckline, which puts you around 26360. If you are conservative, I would suggest that you wait for the break first. If it's impulsive, wait for the corrective pullback. Okay, then you trade to the upside. Okay, if you are more aggressive, you can trade a direct breakout. If you're more conservative, wait for the break, wait for the corrective structure so you get an impulse correction set up. Then only you look for the buy. Alright, so Bitcoin definitely something to note. Since we are on cryptocurrency, okay, you might want to look into this here as well. Okay. I mean, not the best right now. Okay, I'm personally focusing a little bit on Link. Okay, on crypto aspect. The idea is, of course, this is pretty crawlish in nature. Okay, so if we can get a corrective pullback from here, we're looking for more upside. Okay, now this crawl here, in the context of the entire structure, okay, maybe a leading diagonal, right? Because why? The context of this crawl is happening after price actually hits a bottom and it's the first push up, right? So of course this here can be seen as a 3-wave completion potentially. Yeah, I mean the pullback may come in a little bit deeper, but the context of things here is that, okay, something like that, yeah. Okay, the context that I want to highlight is this crawl is not happening at the top, right? So from a scale like this, you can see this crawl is not really at significant top or even like way higher. Okay, this crawl is happening after a impulse first push up. Okay, so not all patterns are equal. Okay, I mean the crawl here also suggests please don't just buy in now, but wait for a pullback, right? That probability of a reversal is still there. It's just that we are not expecting this to be basically another move all the way down. We're basically just expecting this to come down as a corrective move, and if we get that, we definitely want to be on the buy side. Okay. Yeah, so this is something addition for those of you who are interested in a little bit more into the crypto side of things. Okay. Great. I see some of you are asking on different pairs, right? Like Kiwi, Yen, and Euro Franc. In Kiwi Yen over here, we may be seeing a 3-wave structure development. Likely, okay. Sorry, 5-wave. I mean, the 3rd wave is likely developing, right? So I'm gonna put it something like that. The reason is because this move up seems pretty impulsive. Okay, so we won't then expect this to just be a simple 3-wave move, right? Because this move here is pretty impulsive. It broke off the 100 and 127 level. You can see that, right? Kind of broke off pretty sharp, pretty impulsive. So we're generally gonna expect this to test the 1618 to complete the 3rd wave move, and then of course does a simple 3-wave pullback to complete wave 4. And then from there on, there's a good chance this will probably be another wave up. Okay. Yeah, so that's the take on it, right? Of course, if that's the case, wave 4 should never come back down to wave 1 territory. Okay, and yeah, so that's something to look out for, right? And of course, that's the previous high. Yeah, I mean, on a daily higher time frame perspective, nothing is really clear. I think the clearest structure right now is potentially anticipating this move. So if you're looking at Kiwi Yen, my take is, again, for me, this is not something I'll be trading it. I'll wait for this to complete, and then I'll look to see if I can catch this. So it's definitely not something within the week. Okay, it's probably more like maybe next week. Okay, so that's on Kiwi Yen. Okay, Euro Franc. Okay, now this pair is again quite choppy in nature. Let me see how I'll put this. Okay, my first primary view, the clearest of all to me, I'll put this as a potential expanding flat developing. Okay, so my take here is to give you that context. This is the impulse leg. This is basically a potential corrective leg. Okay, after this impulse, and then we can potentially expect more downside, right? That's my primary view for now. Okay, so if I put in some lines here to put in that perspective of things, right? So this is an expanding flat. Okay, we do get the divergence at this top here as well. So if you're looking at Euro Franc and looking for a trade, you may even consider hourly. Okay, can take this swing low. Now we can go back to a higher time frame, right? The hourly just give us some final details of things, right? So if we can get a impulsive break below that low point here at 0.9640, okay, we can expect a little bit more downside, right? And I mean, there's some support area down here. So of course, if you're looking at the sell, right, you probably would definitely want to just take profit there. So let me just make sure this can be seen. Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so that's the primary view on Euro Franc, right? If I'm going to look at it. Okay. You can either be aggressive, trading the breakout of this low, or you wait for the impulsive break and then wait for the corrective pullback to execute the trade. Yeah, so that's on Euro Franc. Okay, one of you is asking on this. I think this here, to me, one of the clearest structure as of now would be a simple three-wave corrective structure. Okay. So, oops. Okay, that's the take. So I think, you know, short term, any corrective pullback, you can expect one more drop. Okay. But once it tags this area, you want to be careful because this can continue to move higher. So short term, you know, you may even consider going down to like hourly. Okay, if you can get a decent three-wave corrective pullback, right? So that will give you a sell trade potential here as well, right? Yeah, something like that. Okay, so this week, you may want to focus if you can get a corrective pullback towards that 15618 retracement, then you may have a sell opportunity in the short term going down to the low of the channel. Okay. Okay, one of you is asking about CRO. Let me just pick a better chart, right? And okay, probably the best looking chart is gonna be this. There's not much of a very clear pattern. Probably something like that will be the clearest, right? So this would be the three-wave structure that we can anticipate. Okay, obviously the low would be here. Yeah, so you probably don't want to be selling this, right? But my take is you probably want to be waiting for a buy opportunity. So maybe the price point somewhere around 0.0488, right? You can round up a little bit, of course, to 0.0480. I think that's the area to look for a buy opportunity for this particular coin. To be honest, I have no idea what this is. Yeah, but it's definitely some very, very cheap coin, right? I mean, it's like less than 10 cents right now. Okay, yeah. Yeah. Let's see. I think generally that's about it. We have anything on Nikkei? Okay. Nikkei is testing that 50 and 618, but it's a little bit too early, right? The idea here is we're going to see this go up a little bit more as an impulse, then a corrective structure, right? Well, we haven't really get that, so I don't think there's much that you can focus on in terms of Nikkei over here. Yeah, so yeah, nothing there on index. Yeah, so I think generally for me, right? For me, I mean the focus for me is definitely on the highlighted ones that I put in here, right? Euro, dollar CAD, gold, as well as in terms of crypto would be BTC. Yeah. Very quickly see if we get anything here. Yeah, nothing there setting up as of now. Okay, good. Yeah, so I hope the today's session give you an idea of what are some of the things to take note for the week. 4 or 5 is definitely more than enough, right? Because again, you don't need a lot. If on an average week you get 1 or 2 trades, um, that is decent. Okay, that would actually be very very good already. Okay, yeah, last thing here, just to very very quickly update you. We did run a webinar last weekend. I think some of you may have joined, some of you may not have, some of you may not be aware of it. you know, um, but basically actually not last, it's just yesterday. Okay, we did have a webinar sharing about a EA trading, right? Basically, trade automation robot, as well as PAM feature. Okay, just want to very quickly update you guys. Just do a quick refresh over here. This account is basically our PAM account. Okay, we launched this since May, all the way until right now. Performance has been decent, right? Or I would say pretty good, because if you average out, is about 3.8% per month so far. Of course, September hasn't really concluded yet. Okay, but they are definitely very very good months. They're a little bit on the average months. If you average out, that's about 3.8 so far for the past 5 months, including September. And this is basically the PAM account, right? Which means you don't really need to do much. You can just decide to tag onto the PAM, kind of like similar principle of copy trade, but the mechanics is a little bit different. Okay, where you don't need to do much, right? Basically, you register your account, you fund your account, and then you sign a simple document to tag your account with the PAM account, and then whenever there's trades taken, it'll be included, and then at the end of the month we'll do a simple profit share. There's no fees involved, just a simple profit share split. Okay, now for those of you interested in finding out a little bit more on this, moving forward, almost every other month we're gonna have some webinars running to share with you a bit more about EA and PAM. But if you want to kickstart earlier, okay, you can always reach out to the Everything Trading team via WhatsApp. Okay, so if you're watching on Zoom, they always drop the link in the chat. You can just click it. If you're watching right now on YouTube, okay, in the description box below, I also have a WhatsApp link. You can click onto that, find out a little bit more how you can get started, because the next intake would likely be the end of September, early October. Okay, and once you miss the end of the month intake, you need to wait until the end of October, right? So basically, we only open up a short window of period at the end of the month and the beginning of the month, right? So it's kind of like every end of the month when we transit into a new month, we open up for new investors to come in, or existing investors who would like to take out their profits. That's the time. Okay, so once you miss it, the next time that you can join and take advantage of the trades over here, you need to wait until end of October. Okay, so right now, if you're keen, you can reach out to the team first and ask. Okay. Yeah, so Edward here is in for July batch, right? So you can manage to catch that solid performance, right? Those early batches, they managed to catch May, really really solid month. Okay. Yeah, so that's a little bit about PAM, right? So okay, I see another 2 pairs here on EuroCAD and EuroAuD. So very 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 quickly, let's run through that. Okay, EuroAuD. Let me update this. Okay, so this one here, right? What I see is we have this 3-wave move, and then after that a corrective structure here, right? Not very very impulsive up. So what I'll be expecting over here is primarily we'll be expecting this as a 1, maybe this is coming down 2, and then we'll probably see one more push up. Okay, and if this entire piece here is going to be corrective, then we'll see this as an impulse. This is a correction, we'll see one more drop. Okay, so that's the primary forecast that I have right now. Okay, And of course, you can see internal 1, 2, 3. So if this is coming down and if this breaks that low, it doesn't mean that will continue to drop, right? Because this one here, if it's coming down corrective in nature, even if it breaks that low, it can still go back up to develop an expanding flat. Okay, so you want to not only look at whether the price is breaking high and low, but you want to ask yourself, how is price breaking? Okay, if it's breaking correctively, it may not go down very far, right? It may actually bounce back up, as I mentioned, to give you an expanding flat before the bigger drop. Okay, so we'll probably need a little bit more time to see how the market is going to develop first. Okay, but that's the take on Euro AUD. Okay. EuroCAD is developing now pretty much a crawl structure. Right now, we also have the divergence, but of course, you don't want to buy in now, right? I mean, the market is dropping. There's no reason to get in now. For crawl, we always use a breakout technique. Okay, so what you do is you always spot a significant high point, a minor high point, as your potential breakout price point. Okay, and then you just wait. Okay, so if the market just decides to keep dropping, which it can, okay, it's just that the odds of a pattern like that and then suddenly just drop is not very high, but there's still that chance happening, right? So that's the reason why you want to look for breakout. In the event where this just continue move like that and it doesn't really tag you in, then it's fine, nothing's gonna happen. You reassess that trade, or say you reassess your analysis after that. Okay, now what you can also do, of course, you can drop down to the hourly and see if you can get a crawl here, right? I mean, if this develops into crawl here, you can look at the hourly for your breakout. Okay, so you can actually play around with the time frames to help you get in at a better price point, have smaller stop as well, and increase your risk to reward significantly. Okay, so 4 hour as of now, yeah, that's my primary take, right? There's no reason to be selling when we see a pattern like that. If we get a corrective structure developed here, then of course we'll look for the sell, but until then, we'll definitely be primary kind of focusing on this first, right? So 1, 2, 3, a crawl. This may go up something like that, right? And then maybe somewhere there, that's where we're gonna see another move down. Okay, so short term within the week, if you're looking at this, you can look for a buy, but not now, right? Again, this is coming down pretty sharp. Just be a little bit patient. Okay, yeah, so yeah, that's on Euro AUD and Euro CAD. Okay, good. So that's all for me. Again, for those of you interested in the PAM, and you would like to find out a little bit more, okay, do reach out to the team via WhatsApp, okay, and then they'll fill you in with more information on how you can get started in the next intake, which is end of September, early October. Okay, so that's all from me. All the best for the week, and we'll see you guys soon. Okay, bye-bye.